time for the CHOGM delegates to share about their experiences relating to policies and programs. Thank you.
Well, here's the team, and it's over to Yvonne and we have about 15 minutes. Don't feel pressured for time. We will run over a little at the end. But it's great to see you, and thank you so much for all that you did when you were in Samoa. We can't wait to hear from you. Yvonne.
Well, kia ora koutou katoa from New Zealand, and talofa lava, as we would say in Samoa, and bula vinaka, Fiji also. So I'm delighted to be here to speak with you. And to begin with, I just want to acknowledge the great team of Nathan, Malachi, Andre, Georgie, and Naomi. And I just want to say a few words before we move on to a presentation about the things that we did at CHOGM and a little bit more about the experience. We're just going to give you a snapshot. But before I do that, I want to formally thank COSW and the board for taking the approach of having social workers from the Oceania and Pacific region attend CHOGM in Samoa. Taking this approach is an example of COSW enacting the principles of our global definition of social work. And that is that acknowledgement of the importance and relevance of Indigenous contributions to social work practice. So thank you very, very much. And a very big thank you to Dr. David. David, you have been a wonderful guide, advocate, and supporter of our CHOGM delegation. And we're very grateful and appreciative of your knowledge and your experience. So, whafte tele lava in Samoan, that means thank you very, very much. CHOGM was the most amazing experience. And I know that the team enjoyed it immensely. Now I'm going to hand over to Nathan, who is going to talk about a presentation that we gave on Indigenous social work responses. Thank you.
Kia ora e te iwi. Firstly, to acknowledge my connections as an Indigenous person connected to the land here in Aotearoa and to Samoa. And secondly, as a social worker and as Chief Executive of the Aotearoa New Zealand Association of Social Workers. To add to Associate Professor Dr. Yvonne Crichton-Hill's words of thanks to Dr. David and the opportunity to send a Pacific delegation to represent in Samoa was really special to me. And I thank you for opening the doorway for that to happen, Dr. David. So very important. And great to see all your lovely faces when you put your cameras on, how good it is to be a social worker and what a privilege it is to stand in this space. Also to acknowledge their highnesses, His Highness Tuiatua Tupua Tamasese and his good wife, Her Highness Masiofo Filipilia Tamasese, who hosted Associate Professor Yvonne, Malachi and I for morning tea, where we had the opportunity to talk about COSW, the work that we're doing as social workers and our plans during CHOGM. So I'm just going to give a very high level overview of what we managed to speak about during the People's Forum, the Commonwealth People's Forum, alongside Yvonne and Malachi. Our session highlighted, the title of our presentation was Resilient Commonwealth Communities, Indigenous Social Work Responses to Health and Equity in the Pacific region. And our session highlighted that communities across the Pacific, including here in Aotearoa, continue to face enormous health and social equity challenges. These demand responses that are not only urgent, but sustainable, multi-generational, and led by the very communities that are affected. In this respect, Indigenous knowledge and values woven deeply into our social work practice is essential. Associate Professor Yvonne opened our session by defining social work from an Indigenous perspective and introducing the work that COSW does. She emphasized how Pacific social work is inherently tied to indigeneity, highlighting the importance of culturally grounded practices in achieving genuine community resilience and well-being. We then spoke about two different case studies. Malachi presented a powerful case study titled Roots of Recovery, Confronting Fiji's Drug Epidemic with Indigenous Solutions. He spoke to Fiji's alarming rise in intravenous drug use and the associated public health crisis, including increased HIV cases and related sexual health concerns. Malachi illustrated how local Indigenous frameworks are crucial to addressing these complex issues in a way that is sustainable and responsive to Fiji's unique social landscape. For my part, I shared a case study titled Cultural Imperialism Unchecked, Repealing 7AA and its impacts on Māori whānau. My focus was on the deep connections that many of us, the deep concerns that many of us hold in Aotearoa, New Zealand, around certain government actions that continue to undermine our nation's founding document, Te Tiriti o Waitangi, or in English, the Treaty of Waitangi. I spoke about the recent persistence of contemporary government policy changes that disregard evidence-based advice rooted in populist ideology, and how recent legislative changes have seriously overlooked our commitment to our Indigenous people. As social workers, such actions challenge the core ethics and principles that define our profession, particularly in our Aotearoa New Zealand context. Our collective kōrero underscored a powerful message that a resilient future relies on solutions that honour Indigenous ways of knowing and being. While our perspectives came from a social work background, we invited all delegates that were in the room to consider these insights within their own spheres, envisioning solutions that prioritise the health and security of their own communities. Kia ora, that's the high-level overview. I'll hand over back to Yvonne.
Thank you, Nathan. And now we'll move on to Malachi, who is going to talk about his presentation at the Youth Forum.
Hey, Bula Vinaka, and greetings, kia ora, and talofa lava from Fiji. I know it's 7 o'clock here in Fiji. First of all, I just want to take this opportunity to thank the COSW delegation team. Thank you so much for allowing me to participate in the CHOGM, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Samoa. It's been my first time. I haven't been on a conference either. And then I was just telling my colleagues, it was an exposure for me. And I really thank you for your guidance and your continuous support. And a big vinaka vakalevu, and thank you so much, Dr. David Jones, for your continuous guidance. As Yvonne was saying, your support was really crucial and critical during our preparations before CHOGM. I just want to share a bit about when I spoke at the spotlight session on the Commonwealth Youth Forum. The Commonwealth Youth Forum basically provides an opportunity for young people of the Commonwealth to build cross-cultural connections and networks, deliberate on youth-led initiatives addressing emerging issues impacting young people, strategize perspectives to influence decision makers, and ensure young people have a voice and agency in the future. So as part of the COSW delegation with my other colleagues, we have Professor Chochi Rabulo in the room, Associate Professor Yvonne, Crichton Hill, Naomi, and Nathan. We also represent Pacific Social Work, where I spoke on the need for government and policymakers to recognize the Young Carers Charter. As we all understand that social workers, we stand for social justice, human rights and equity, and as a young social worker, we can't reach our goals of equity, justice, and rights without youth participation and leadership. So basically, one of the pieces of work that COSW has developed is a Young Carers Charter, and thanks to Andre Frank, I think Andre is not maybe in the room, acknowledging the work that her late wife has done in developing the Young Carers Charter. So the Young Carers Charter is very much aligned to the Kigali Declaration that Yvonne had spoken on, and also the United Nations Declarations on the Rights of the Child. So I just want to reiterate myself on who is the Young Carers Charter. Who is a young carer? Young carers are young people of school age that are caring for elders. These are sick parents and mentally ill persons. So there was a bit of application and application to Commonwealth territories and Pacific communities. There is a need to look at the well-being and welfare of young carers who are sometimes forgotten, silenced, and deprived of opportunities, for instance, education and other important areas of development. And I was also giving my reflection as a young person who was also a young carer when I was growing up. So there needs to be provision and support mechanisms that should be available for young carers. For instance, income support within the area of health and also education and all other areas of development to ensure that their voices and needs are met. So during the consultation with young carers, we heard from young carers who said that it is hard trying to find balance in life, juggling everything we have to do. And we want schools to respect and understand the issues that we have to deal with at home. So in the meanwhile, young people are waiting to hear that their needs are recognized and that the Commonwealth is responding to their plea to be heard. And yeah, so I concluded with encouraging youth leaders to stand with young carers by endorsing the Charter. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Malachi. I'm just going to now talk about, give you a little snapshot of a presentation that I was involved in. I want to thank David Jones, Helen Jones, and Lane Robinson for the opportunity to be a part of a panel speaking on the implementation of the Kigali Declaration. In brief, I made a number of points related to the role of social workers in childcare and protection reform, because social workers, I think, are pretty essential to the reform of childcare and protection systems. So one of the points that I made is that care and protection systems are embedded in and created from unique and diverse cultural contexts across the Commonwealth. These contexts must be acknowledged when designing responses to children and families in order to avoid creating further harm to children. Care and protection reform that engages with children and families in skilled and culturally responsive ways that resonate with their cultural worlds and values has the potential to transform children's lives. This is certainly the case in terms of Pacific social work, where responses to childcare and protection concerns must be, I am suggesting, and that we are suggesting, must be co-designed with Pacific communities, with Pacific Indigenous knowledge, values, and skills as a foundation. I also mentioned in that panel that cultures contain protective factors that can be employed to support
Madam, your mic is on mute.
I think I just got muted. Have you heard me at all?
For a
you
minute we
have?
missed. For a minute we missed.
There was some background noise, Yvonne. So literally, we just lost you for a second at that very point. So carry on.
Oh, okay. So I'll just carry on, shall I?
Yes, please. Thank you.
So I was saying that cultures contain protective factors that can be employed to support the protection and care of children. The other point that I made was that children, families, and communities must be resourced as much as the professionals and organisations that work with them. In this way, children and the communities in which they reside can be empowered, inspired, and supported to reach their aspirations to live lives free of professional interventions. Finally, in support of statements by other members on the panel, I stated that the Kigali Declaration is nothing without action. And I supported the call by Awhiunga Chief Justice Fui Nelson that there should be more time at CHOGM events dedicated to children. And I also referred to COSW's work, which Malachi has mentioned, on the Young Carers Charter, and as an example of work done by social workers that is focused on and dedicated to children. So that's essentially what I presented at the panel on the Kigali Declaration, wonderfully supported by the team. And Nathan had to return home by then, but Malachi and Naomi and Professor Georgie and Andre were there. So it was a great opportunity. I think the next little bit that we want to move on to sharing with you is some thoughts and ideas about a legacy project or about what we can continue to do in the Pacific space following CHOGM. So Nathan, shall I pass over to you to start and then I'll add?
Kia ora, Yvonne, happy to. I guess we're very much in the dreaming and scheming stage at the moment, but as a first step, the Aotearoa New Zealand Association of Social Workers and the Association of Fiji Social Workers, of which Malachi is the interim president, look forward to continuing to strengthen our strategic partnership to see how we can work and support each other. And starting from there, we look forward in collaboration with COSW to explore how can we foster connections with Pacific social workers and association, or explore perhaps how we can support their formation where there may be none. My view is that with a united Pacific social work voice, that there's immense potential for us to advocate effectively for our communities on common issues that deeply affect all of us, the need for climate action being one of them. This increased solidarity within Pacific social work, I believe, would enable us to speak with greater strength on global issues, elevating Pacific and Indigenous social work perspectives within global social work, within the global social work discourse. The knowledge and experiences we bring as Pacific social workers, but like all of our regions, are deeply valuable and on par with that of our social work colleagues from regions across the world. As we move forward, we're really grateful for the ongoing support of the Commonwealth Organization for Social Work and what is possible for social work in the Pacific, remembering that of the 56 member states of the Commonwealth, 11% are Pacific nation states, so about 20%. I know everyone will be speaking about social work education, but looking forward, we're really excited that the next CHOGM will be held in the Caribbean, in Antigua and Barbuda. We hope to collaborate with COSW in supporting a Caribbean-led delegation. And given the numerous similarities that we face as often as small island developing states, like colonization and climate change, we anticipate meaningful connections between our two regions in preparation for CHOGM 2026 and beyond. Back to you, Yvonne.
Thanks, Nathan. And the other component of thinking about social work in the Pacific, and I know there are efforts in other nations, and I know that Professor Georgie and his university support social work in the Pacific and work, and also Malachi is there at the University of the South Pacific in Fiji, growing social work. The thing is that in Samoa, there's no social work qualification. And so one of the other components is to look at how we can build social work education that is Indigenous based, but also has, I guess, a braided river approach, as we might refer to in Aotearoa New Zealand, where we have foundational social work knowledge from across the world, but also Indigenous knowledge together. And so I was fortunate that my university, the University of Canterbury in New Zealand, had actually a week or so earlier made a memorandum of understanding with the National University of Samoa. So when I was at CHOGM, I was able to speak to the university in Samoa about growing social work, and they are keen, and there is support from the Ministry of Women and other government organisations in Samoa to grow education there. So the idea is just to completely support what they are wanting to do. So I think our future project, which we are dreaming about, also involves increasing the presence of COSW in the Pacific. And so we are on board with supporting that and letting people know about COSW and the work that COSW does. And we hope to further develop our project that definitely combines the aspects that Nathan spoke about, social work education, and addressing the issues that are at the fore for Pacific nations. I just want to say, just quick. Oh, sorry, have I got yes? Am I going on too long? I've just
we've got to bring it together. I know you were wanting to invite Georgie and Nemi to say something quickly, but we've literally got about a minute left before we move into the next thing. But that was fantastic.
Okay. I'm going to pass on to them for any reflections that the two of you would like to make. Thank you.
Nemi, do you want to go quickly?
Thank you. I will go quickly. It's been a great pleasure to have a team, and as well as the Commonwealth People's Forum, which I attended over 2 days, there was a women's forum, a youth forum, and a business forum, which all feed into the opportunity to meet with the ministers, prime ministers, and other people. Civil society matters, and that's a very important opportunity that we have, and well done all of you for being here. I also thought to speak briefly about it is really wonderful the way the Commonwealth takes seriously small as well as big countries. Samoa is a nation with 250,000 people. Australia has 26 million people. The UK, 69 million. India, more than 1 billion people, but each person matters, and it's a wonderful melting pot and opportunity to be sharing and caring together. I have loved, and then I'll finish off with this point, David, attending the Commonwealth People's Forum from 2011 in Perth, 2013 Sri Lanka, London. I missed out on Rwanda. COVID got in the way. But I really encourage people to consider taking leave, saving up, and attending. It really is a very encouraging opportunity to be sharing and caring across the world in a more accessible forum than the United Nations, for example. So thank you. I could keep on going, but that's adequate. Georgie.
Nakanomi, Nissan Bulavanaka, and g'day. Hi, everyone. Just really quickly, from my point of view, one of the key things that we were striving to do as representatives of COSW was to have those critical conversations. We know the point of difference as a discipline, as a profession, as those working in policy and research. Social work strives to make that difference. And so one of the key things that I was doing through a lot of the youth forums and the side events was to come to those conversations with a critique about what are the inequalities, what are the system structures and services that we need to potentially disrupt so that we can include inclusive societies across the Commonwealth. Manaka Bakalevu, and thank you.
Sorry to be cutting you short there a little bit, Georgie, because there's so much to say, but we could well have a webinar just to pick up some of the issues that came out of that. It was just a taste. I don't know, Yvonne, whether that's something that we could talk about, but or think about for the future. But thank you so much, and thank you to your organisations that funded it. COSW didn't put any funding really into this. People funded themselves, and that was really fantastic. And you made an impact. That was really exciting. Sylvia, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. David. Thank you. I thank the delegates of CHOGM for their presentation. It was much interesting. Now I request Dr. Ramesh to present about the COSWA's new governance. Over to Dr. Ramesh.
Thank you, Dr. Sylvia. So COSWA, with the more than a 30-year history, we were a very small group of people interested from Commonwealth countries who want to be the voice of social work in Commonwealth forums, which was missing earlier. We had a IFSW model, and then there are national associations and there are regional associations. There was a strong need to have a voice of social work in Commonwealth. I think that's the background in which the COSWA was initiated in 1990s. Over time, we felt that this needs more democratization and voice from all the countries of Commonwealth to be heard instead of just a group of interested people. So that's a background in which the new COSWA governance discussion was started a year ago. Just to give you the background, why the new constitution. So the new constitution, like I said, will have a representative from every member of the Commonwealth, which is currently 54 countries. We would like to have a representative from at least one member from each country, irrespective of their size, which is again the the theme behind the governance system and the global order as well. However small you are, you still have a voice, and it's an equal voice. So we'd like to bring that in the COSWA governance system. It will also help us to be transparent in our process and improve efficiency because instead of having only a small group of interested people, now having representatives from each country would improve our efficiency because you all have seen so many activities happening all over Commonwealth countries. And just the young carer alone, need a group of people focusing on it. If you want a good attention, not just from Commonwealth, even the world needs attention to it. And again, we are operating with a very limited, resources. Very small funds are available. So again, the new governance, may bring in, better resources, not just financial, in terms of human resource as well, and also, country level, there may be additional resources that each representative can bring in. Yeah, again, just to repeat this, bring more transparency and accountability, in compliance with our principles and other accreditation requirements of Commonwealth Foundation as well as Commonwealth Secretariat. And yes, sustainability is reason, one of the important reason behind this new governance. When you have a representation from each country, I think everybody will contribute, and this movement will be sustainable. And again, remaining proportionate that each country can send a representative. Because currently we don't have a restriction that we do have people more than one from one country also, and there is no representation from some countries. Yes, so the challenges that we see, it becomes a global network of individuals who are interested. Not just associations, are going to be part of this. We just don't want to, follow what the current structures, whether it's IFSW or other, associations. We would like to have those who are interested to represent, their country can come forward and, get nominated either by themselves or from associations or from other groups. And there is a committee who will, screen the application and then interact with the applicants and then come with the nomination. And we are looking at the first phase. We looked at 15 countries by the end of 2024. I think we are in the right direction. We hope to see the first group of 15 countries will get their representation in the council. And over time we'll get all the 54 also. And the council will have the members will become the voting members. We have recently opened up the associate membership also without voting capacity. But this council of 54 members from 54 countries will become the voting members, and those members will also have an opportunity to become the members of the board. Other than some members who will be invited to the board based on their capacity and the competence and the international experience of organizing international activity. So this appointments committee is the one that I was referring to. When you receive more than one nomination from each country, this appointment committee will get involved, and then they screen and then they help. So we have both the national level as well as the international level appointments committee. Yes, associate members we have already referred. And, within this group, we are also looking at creating subgroups, to govern activities. One example we already have discussed is young carers and sustainable cities, health professions. So there are different subcommittees are also possible. And this is just a visual, representation of how the new governance system will look like. So if you look at the center, one is Commonwealth Council, and you have a national appointment groups who will screen the applications at the national level, and then they recommend to the appointments committee. The appointments committee both helps in finalizing the Commonwealth Council as well as the board. The forum is the opportunity where we can communicate what is happening in COSW, as well as COSW's links with other activities, forums in the Commonwealth. Yeah, so this is just giving you some kind of timeline, what has happened and what is going to happen. So we are looking at an active council with the new structure, starting from the early 2025. So my thanks to all the Constitutional Committee members, Ms. Jan, Dr. Sylvia, and Dr. David, and all other members who supported us, and then our own international committee who is supporting us, in this process. So we welcome all of you to look at the circular shared, recently through our newsletter. So that each one of you can also apply, to be a member of your country representative, or if you want to support us in being part of the appointment group, national level, you are welcome to do so.
Thank you, Ramesh. It's always complicated and for many people very boring to go through this, but it's accountability, transparency, and making the organization close to what happens in each country. And we're excited that we're beginning to get names coming through from countries. And we do think that we will have 15 countries by the end of the year with individuals nominated. The board appointment is confirmed by the new council, but as Ramesh was saying. But now I think, Sylvia, we have a time for questions and comments. Partly because of my mistake with cutting people off halfway through. We lost 5 minutes there, and with other pressures, but I think we've done fantastically for time, actually, to keep on board with things. So Sylvia, I don't see anybody with questions, but with 28 people, if you can go to the React button at the bottom, and you can just raise your hand if you want to ask a question or indeed to make a comment. I think, Sylvia, I was chairing this bit, so if anybody who's listening wants to make a comment, ask a question, don't worry how basic or simple the question might be. We'd be very happy to take that. And then Sylvia will finish our event in just a few minutes. I don't see any hands being raised at the moment.
Yeah. Dr. David, we have Mr. Nathan raising his hand here.
Nathan has indeed put his hand up. Nathan, and thanks so much for, we should thank the Aotearoa New Zealand Association for the fantastic support that was given. And we had a meeting in Panama at the IFSW general meeting. Yeah, Georgie is sending hearts to New Zealand. All sorts of best wishes. Your association played a really crucial role in this, and I gather you're going to have a new president in Australia, Georgie, but we need to have some conversations with Australia about the links with COSW. That I know there's ambivalence in many countries, but I hope we've shown through this webinar that COSW is really engaged with grassroots social work. The Commonwealth often is seen as being about the king or about things that are a long way away, and there's a really complicated imperial heritage which we must talk about. You can see it's on the website. We have a statement about that on our website on our front page. But there's some ways that we can connect with each other, and that gives us an opportunity, always working with IFSW and IA, the International Federation and the International Association. The chair of the International Association, Antoinette Lombard, is in a Commonwealth country in South Africa. I'm in touch with her, so we have those close connections. Nathan, you had a comment you wanted to come in on.
Got it, Dr. David. Just a thought, as you mentioned, the importance of having a representative from all 56 Commonwealth countries. The importance, I guess, of like the Pacific project that we were talking about around having established social work programs and associations to affirm social work professional identity in each context, because it'll be difficult, I imagine, for our Pacific brothers and sisters to put forward names to nominate if they haven't got that existing social work identity at the moment, like in Samoa. So even more reason for the legacy project that we spoke about.
Indeed, and our constitution is different from IFSW. International Federation of Social Workers is a federation of associations, so you must have an association to be able to join the Federation of Associations. COSW was very deliberately set up at the beginning with a different structure. It's a grouping of associations, organizations, and people. And that does make it very difficult for us in principle. How do you then get a national representative from India? We could have hundreds of people as members. And how do you then organize it? So we start with the National Association where it exists, but in principle, any organization can host the National Appointment Group. So the university in Samoa could host that, or an agency could host it. Any organization can host an appointment group that would then select somebody. So in, for example, a country like Trinidad and Tobago, they are not a member of IFSW. They do have an association. So that association can play a role. But in Samoa, it might be that it's the NGO agency. Even the NGO agency for the South Pacific could actually host a structure. I'm thinking as I'm talking here, could host a structure for all of the South Pacific countries. We can explore those options. But as soon as we have 15 people, then we've got enough to get our council working and voting. Charles Mbugua has got his hand up. Charles, in Kenya.
Thank you, David. Just a comment, not really a comment, is just a kind of info about the World Conference in 2026, which will be held in Nairobi. Just to let the team know that we are far ahead with the arrangements we are going on, and we would like to make a special invitation to the Commonwealth team, and I would love to have a Commonwealth presence in that event, which will be unique in many ways. Thank you.
Yeah, Charles is the key person organising that conference. So thank you, Charles. Thank you, Charles, for that invitation, and we can work closely together to think about how that happens. And just to say that we've also, with IFSW and COSW, been doing some work with the Commonwealth Equalities Network to ensure that equalities and particularly LGBTQI rights are recognised in the conference, which is a challenge in a number of African countries, but we need to start talking about it early so that it's planned in rather than something that comes up as a complicated issue on the day. And that has already started in conversations with the umbrella group in Kenya. Any more comments, Charles, or thank you? No, that's fine. Any other comments? I'm just looking at the chat again. Joachim, are you still there, Joachim?
Yes, David, I'm here.
And thank you so much for taking part. Are you taking part this afternoon as well?
No, sorry, this afternoon I am attending the burial of one of our colleagues that passed on, so we're burying him today.
Well, please send our greetings, but would you like to say anything from IFSW as we're coming to a conclusion?
Yeah, I mean, just to say that we're excited and about the partnership that we have between IFSW and COSW, and we look forward to strengthening the partnership and looking forward to doing joint projects together. And like Charles has mentioned, I think we're really looking forward to seeing COSW very, very visible during our 2026 global conference in Nairobi.
Joachim, and we must thank IFSW for all the support that we have with communications and obviously the South Pacific project, Yvonne. IFSW is a key partner with IASSW as well. So there are all sorts of opportunities for us to build networks there, which are encouraging. I think probably I'm not seeing any other answers. Please take our best wishes with you to our colleagues this afternoon, Joachim, and it's always a difficult time when colleagues pass away. Sylvia, I think we're going back to you, and I've got a final slide, but I'm not going to risk showing it. I'm just going to put your face there and say thank you so much to everybody, and back to you, Sylvia, for the final closing.
Thank you, Dr. David. Just a thank you is a mighty powerful prayer, says it all. On behalf of COSW, my sincere thanks to the dignitaries of today's event. Mr. Nicholas Watts, Chair of Independent Forum of Commonwealth Organizations, and the CHOGM delegates, Yuan Crichton-Hill, Nathan Chong-Lee, and Malachi Waka. Heartfelt thanks to our board members, Mr. Joachim, President, IFSW, Mr. Theo, Vice President, Asia Pacific Region, IFSW, and Senior Lecturer, College of Arts and Sciences, University, Uttara, Malaysia. Our thanks to our board member, Mr. Ramesh, Director, School of Social Work and Social Policy, BOM, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. On behalf of COSW, I thank our board member, Ms. Naomi, COSW Secretary, and past adjunct academics, Charles Stewart University, Australia. I thank Ms. Jan, registered social work practitioner, the field of child welfare, Canada. I thank Mr. Charles, past president of IFSW in Africa region, and Mr. Gerald, Ugandan social worker, delegate of Compassion International. I thank Ms. Monique Offray, award-winning retired CEO, transformational change leadership, affiliated to Dalhousie University, Alberta, Canada. And now it's time to thank a significant person, a board member, award-winning social worker, recognized by London University, consultant, international social work and social policy, none other than our Dr. David N. Jones. Thank you, Dr. David, for always keeping the COSW team in high spirits and for making the tough decisions. You are an inspiration to the social work fraternity. Thanks to all teachers, professors, and students. Special thanks to Professor Jayanti, Dr. Irinian, Dr. Janice from Madras Christian College and Madras School of Social Work for their support. Thanks to all professionals and students of social work. Sincere thanks to IFSW for providing this online platform for conducting this event today. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yes, thank you, everyone.
Bye. And if you want to do it all again in 11 hours, we will be joining the rest of the world.
For the second day, yeah.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Silva. Thank you, David. Yeah. Take care, David. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Thanks, David.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.